exciting for us. And let me introduce our first speaker for the day, Lisha Rakesh. Lisha is, as in, I always keep confusing on how to pronounce her name, but Lisha is a senior director at Capgemini, and she's responsible for managing and growing strategic accounts in the financial services business unit. She has been a regular contributor at the STC conference last year as well. When the World Quality Report comes in, she is the one who kind of interprets the World Quality Report for the community and explains them about how we need to interpret that to benefit from the World Quality Report. And for those of you who do not know, World Quality Report is a very strong, publication. It's published annually. It kind of highlights some of the macro trends and some of the directions that they compile based on their research with multiple CXOs around the world. Lisha also has worked very closely with customers across multiple geographies. She consults with them on their process and technical maturity, and she's a very great lady, and she's always been uh, very supportive of STC, and she's very knowledgeable. So I urge you to kind of spend your time to listen to the macro trends, understand how you can leverage those trends for your business benefits. So without much ado, let me introduce Lisha. Lisha, over to you.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you, everyone, for having me here. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I'm extremely glad to be a part of this conference again and very, very excited to be presenting this year's World Quality Report to all of you. Uh, this is extremely special for me this time because I'm also one of the co-authors for the report, which is specially pertaining to the financial services sector analysis. So, as Pradeep was saying, World Quality Report is an annual report which is published by Capgemini and Sujeti in partnership with one of our key partners, Microfocus. And this year we are publishing the 14th edition of the World Quality Report, or WQR as it is popularly known. Now, this report is undoubtedly, one of the most popular, one of the most comprehensive research studies in the quality engineering industry, which brings you a very, very clear assessment of the latest trends in the market. What are the best practices that our customers are following? How are the trends in the industry? How is the industry moving? And that is the reason why it provides you a very, very comprehensive, very clear view and a perspective across various themes. It gives you a perspective across different industries, domains, and also across geographies, because there are certain nuances that come in for each of these different areas. And World Quality Report gives you a very, very extensive study across all of these different parameters. Now, the key message or the key motto of this year's WQR is the closer you look, the more you see, right? And the image that you see here, the water droplet, also has been very, very carefully chosen, after a lot of deliberation to capture the essence of this particular motto. The water droplet basically signifies or represents the agility and the adaptability, which is a very, very clear expectation from the quality engineering function within any of the industry domains today, right? It is expected that with the change in technology landscape, quality and testing will be able to run at the speed that the industry demands, right? And it is also going to be able to be support the new technologies, the new methodologies, the new ways of working. So that is what the raindrop, the water drop signifies. Apart from that, it also, if you look very closely, it shows you or it acts as a magnifier or as a magnifying glass, right, which helps you to reveal and uncover the tiniest possible details, which again is a very, very key expectation from quality practitioners or quality function all over the world, right? Also, quality, as we all would know, is sometimes not the most jazzy or not the hottest topic in the room, right? It's sometimes sidetracked a little bit, but it is an absolute essential for running your IT system, and nobody can negate that. It is very similar to water, which is absolutely essential and critical for your survival. You cannot think of survival without water. Same way, you cannot think of running smooth IT systems without having a proper QA and QE in place, right? The color scheme specifically also is in line with environment and sustainability, which are some of the key topics for most of the organizations today, and also becoming, a part of their mainstream strategy. Now, before I jump into the findings of the report, which we will be discussing in details today, I'll take a minute to provide you some details which show you the extensive coverage of the report. Now, if you see here, the report covers over 1,750 respondents from 7 major user groups, which are across the CIO community, the IT directors, the CMOs, CDOs, etc. And the respondents span across 32 countries and 10 key domains. Now, there are sector analysis also, which are very, very detailed in nature, which you can refer to if you're interested in a particular sector. If you want to understand what is testing looking like, or what is QE looking like in financial services, or how is it looking in the healthcare, what is the future, you can look at the sector pullouts. Similarly, there are also country-specific reports. So if you want to see how is it looking like in the NA region, or how is Germany moving towards their quality engineering journey, right? You have those country-specific reports, and then you also have regional reports. So, for example, if you want to look at how APAC is looking at quality engineering, or how the Central Europe, continental Europe is looking at it, you can again refer to those. So, if you have not yet read the World Quality Report, please refer to these reports to get an insight, get specific details around the area or the topic that you would be interested in or you're working, because the insights that you get from these reports will help you either in crafting the right strategy and the QE vision for your organization, or will help you in having the right conversations with your customers. Now, today's session, we will focus on the key findings from 7 different themes which are aligned with the market trends. The first one is, the quality orchestration in the agile enterprises or agile ecosystem. The second one is all around automation. The third one is about infrastructure, specifically the test environment. How do you provision them? How is it looking like for testing? The fourth one is the test data provisioning and the data validation. Fifth one is sustainable IT. Then you have emerging technologies, and then you have value stream management, right? Now, people who have been familiar with World Quality Report would see that the top four that you see here, quality orchestration and agile, automation, infrastructure, and data, they have been consistent themes in the last few quality reports as well. However, the ones that you see, the last three, which are sustainable IT and how quality works together to deliver that, the input that is needed, or the preparation that is needed for us to be ready for the emerging technology, and the overall value stream management, and bringing in the whole concept of reducing the inefficiency from the process flows and everything. These three topics or these three themes are new, and we will get to know about some of the interesting findings which we have uncovered when we talk about the respective sections. Okay. Now, in today's agile and DevOps world, right, quality is basically seen as an orchestrator. It's seen as a place wherein different elements come together. Whether you talk about the tools, whether you talk about environment, data, having the right kind of culture, the mindset, automation, workforce transformation, anything that you talk about which can result in creating some kind of an impact on quality comes together, and quality is the binding factor for all of them, right? Now, the survey shows that there are 3 key objectives that everybody, domain agnostic, geography agnostic, people are striving for. One is on or sometimes before time delivery, right? Second one is bringing in intelligence in the way that we are testing, so that you are testing less but covering more, but at the same point of time also bringing in a lot of predictability in the way that you are delivering your services or products to the customer. And the third one is very important, reducing the cost of quality, but at the same point of time ensuring that you are enhancing the customer and the user experience. Testers as a community are, we feel that in real sense now embedded into the teams. They are seen as quality engineers. Yesterday during the opening keynote, Raghu was mentioning that the SDET concept has been beaten to death, and I think that is very true, because SDETs or quality engineers are no longer niche. They are standard roles, they are expected roles and skills, and most of the customers, most of the programs that we're working in demands that quality engineers are embedded into the programs from the very beginning, right? So that's a very good future that we see being carved out for the erstwhile testers. The expectation of multi-skilled quality professional has always been there. We've been talking about T-shaped skills, wherein you have a good understanding about a broad spectrum, but at the same point of time you have a very deep understanding about a particular aspect of technology or domain. Now the T shape is gone. We have got pie shape skills, which means that you again have a very broad understanding and knowledge on multiple areas, but you have deep functional or technical expertise in at least two areas, right? So I think for each of us who is a quality practitioner or who is a quality engineer, it is imperative that we do a self assessment. We understand where we stand today, looking at how the industry is looking at like, and how do we what do we aspire to do, how do we reach there by cross skilling or upskilling ourselves. Also, earlier, the important things that we used to call out about test automation, DevOps, CI/CD, programming skill, these are all given. Okay, the newer skills that are going to be very, very important are around observability, SRE, chaos engineering, non-functional testing aspects, along with domain, which remains a constant. So clearly, there is an expectation from quality professionals or quality engineers to upskill more and convert or transition themselves into a more rounded, well-rounded, more multi-skilled full stack engineers. Okay. The next section, which talks about the automation, has always been one of the themes in the WQR since the inception. And every year, we see some new challenges, some new interesting insights coming. Right now, the clear sentiment across the board coming out from the report this time is that automation is the way forward. Right? If you have to transform, you cannot do it if you do not automate. But at the same point of time, automation cannot and should not be limited to the test execution step only. So there has been a focus, and there is a greater focus now that you look at each and every area of your software development life cycle, and you move into an automation led delivery, like maybe using a model-based testing approach to automate the whole test design step, right? So that you don't have testers actually sitting down and creating manual test cases. Similarly, looking at test data automation, test environment, or provisioning of environments automatically, reporting, which is a very, very key aspect for any of the test manager. How do you automate that whole function and ensure that you have real-time reports built, right? So automation, if you limit it to the test execution, will definitely give you the right benefit. So it is necessary for us to stretch our boundaries as practitioners, build the automation first mindset and culture within our organizations, right? Now, for the last few years, one of the key things that I wanted to call out was automation ROI. There is a lot of sentiment and a lot of discussion that happens on the ROI, right? There is a shift that we've seen now. So earlier, any decision related to automation would be based on the return on investment. Now, what we are seeing is the maintainability aspects. The business need for automation is really figuring out as the top areas of focus for people, which is very good, right? Because when you start tying testing and quality engineering to business value, business outcome, you're actually having the right conversation, right? Again, ease of use also becomes very, very important. Why? Because as we leverage our automation scripts and automation assets for the community of developers or community of business analysts, user communities to support with their testing phases, it becomes easy for them to use it if it's not heavily coded. So there is a growing interest that we see in low code, no code platforms, or the concept of automation marketplace, right? However, one of the insights that was truly disappointing for me was that it showed that almost like 60% of the organizations still feel that they are struggling to make the automation work in terms of what they had seen in the past, or what they had thought they would get in the past, to what they have achieved so far when they embarked on their automation journey. Okay. Now, we'll move to the next area, which is all about infrastructure and cloud. We have seen a very steady increase in the last 2 years in organizations adopting cloud, right? And this is typically seen in moving their non production environments to cloud. But now, if you see the graph very closely, which talks about what percentage of your non prod environments are on cloud, you would notice that almost 50% of organizations say that, or 48% of organizations are saying that only 25% of their environment is on cloud, which means that there is definitely a long way for us to go in this area, right? Now, some of the challenges that came out during the conversations and the interviews that we were having were the challenges related to migration of legacy systems. You have old system, legacy systems which are built long back, very complex problem to with the integration. How do we move these systems and modernize them, right, to modern platforms? Similarly, there was a very big concern that came out around the data security and the regulatory aspects, right? So when we move the data to cloud, how does it work? Is it secure, etc.? And I feel, looking at the responses, and if you go into the detailed study, you would see that there is also a confusion, or probably not having the right clarity in terms of what service provider should I choose? Who should we go to? Should we go completely on cloud, or like 100% cloud adoption, or should it be a mix, a premise thing wherein you have an on-prem cloud, all of that, right? And I think this whole decision making, or the delay in decision making, is slowing down this cloud adoption rigor and pace significantly. In general, if you look at organizations, you talk to organizations, they agree that cloud is the way forward, right? They see very good advantages coming in terms of disaster recovery, cost efficiency, etc. But the preference is still to be multi-premise or have a mix of cloud or on-prem approach. One of the interesting findings that came out was when we asked them that if they are incorporating cloud testing as as a key aspect when they are crafting their test strategy. And it was very interesting to see that almost 40% of the respondents say that cloud testing is included as part of their software development lifecycle. The cloud testing is included as part of the strategy for all the different projects. So it's not just the projects which will be moving to cloud or where the cloud migration is there, but they're basically considering cloud testing to be a part of their overall strategy, which shows the maturity, right, that is coming into the industry. Now, while the actual adoption might be a little slow, the awareness and just the thought of having cloud in your mind when you are crafting your overall strategy or your test approach, focus on the non-functional testing. I think all of these show that you are, or we are moving in the right direction within the industry. The next section is again a very interesting section from the data side, right? It's been a critical element. It's been a pain point for most of us, something which gives us all a lot of headache. Now, in the environment section, if you remember, we saw that there was a clear intent of moving to cloud. So we asked the question to our people or respondents that what is the percentage that you see wherein how much of your data or what percentage of your data is right now on cloud, right? And if you see here, 89% of the companies say that, or respondents say that the company policy is to have all the data on prem. Okay, so there is definitely a concern or a pushback or some kind of a reservation, right, in terms of moving the data to cloud. Now, most of the customers also pointed out that they don't feel comfortable even with desensitized data being on cloud, right? So for cloud, they're willing to put synthetically generated data because they don't see any risk to that. But not even the desensitized data. So definitely the security concerns related to data, the regulatory, the compliance related aspects related to data will drive the adoption and the push in this direction, right? We also know that the data validation strategy or the overall approach is going to be a very important aspect for right decision making, right? And I think everybody agreed to that. Everybody said that it is absolutely imperative that you have a good, solid, robust data validation strategy, right? And they feel that it is important because it will help them in driving the efficiency, it will help them in better decision making, etc. However, most of them also express some concern that they have seen around the implementation of the approach. So the approach is all fine, but when you actually put it on the ground, the kind of insights that you are being able to derive from the data that is getting gathered is still a matter of concern, right? And we saw that there is a very clear willingness or a pull towards using industry popular, off the shelf, mature tools in this space to support the organizations with data validation and the overall data management concepts. The next one about quality and sustainable IT, right? It's a new topic, but it was not a surprise though, because I think all of us have been talking about sustainability. We are all, talking about it in different conversations. It's becoming a part and parcel of the overall strategy and the vision that the organizations are having. So obviously, it had to seep into the quality area also. But as a practitioner, as a person who's been in the industry for some time now, quality, in my opinion, has always been focused on sustainability concepts. When we look at quality, the first thing that we look at is how do we eliminate the wastage, how do you improve the efficiency, etc. So it might be. It is something that is being talked about right now, but it's not absolutely new, right? Now, one of the questions that we asked our respondents, right, was that what is the biggest benefit you see, with this whole concept of IT sustainability coming into picture? What is the biggest benefit that you're seeing coming across the board? And there were two things that came out. One was the brand value and the customer loyalty, right? Then we ask them, how do you establish your sustainability goals and how do you measure them? Again, here, almost if you look at it, almost close to average of 50% organization said that they were meeting the expectation where they were defining the goals. So they have clearly defined goals. They have tools and a framework to measure them. They know how they are doing, all of that, right? So this is good that at least 50% of us feel that they have a very clear understanding on sustainable IT and how quality is also playing a picture or playing a part in that whole picture. But the other 50% really struggle, right, with all of these questions. So clearly, we need to ensure that quality plays a more pivotal role in the sustainable IT area. Most organizations are trying to figure out what they can do in order to have the quality actually drive or lead the space in the IT sustainable objectives. But we've seen that people keep on talking about the rudimentary or the tactical aspects only about the ecosystem, or the infrastructure. So they talk about how they can bring in efficiencies using infrastructure. That is something that has come out very clearly. And we feel that this is an evolving theme. It will be interesting to watch this space to see how the next few years are spanning out. and what is the role that quality and we can play in order to shape this. The next one is about quality engineering for emerging technologies, right? Technology is emerging at a super fast speed, we all know that. And with that, the need to have the right quality strategy, the right kind of tools, the right kind of skill set, etc., is also changing, right? Now, there is something while we were having a discussion, there was one person, one of my colleagues, who mentioned a very interesting data point. They said that the number of patents that were filed in the first 10 years of the US Patent Office, right? It is the same number of patent that is being filed every 7 hours today. Now, don't ask me how many number of patents, and I don't even know whether this is this is really true insight that he shared with me. But looking at the pace of how the industry is moving, looking at the focus on innovation, this might really be true, right? Also, when you look at the emerging technologies, they all have a different life cycle. Some are short lived, some become mainstream. But no matter what the tenure, even if it is there for a very short period of time, we as quality engineers need to ensure that we are absolutely ready to support these technologies, right? Now, one of the questions that we asked our teams or the respondents was that how, or what are the big bets that you're seeing on technology, right? So, what are the emerging technologies that your organization is betting on, right? And there were two things that came out very clearly. One was the blockchain technology, the second one was Web 3.0. So we asked them, how do you see quality coming into picture? What is the skill set that you see which the future engineers would need? And give us some insight. But we didn't really get a very clear answer, and that could be probably because people are still trying to figure out the real world use cases in some of the industries. They're still trying to understand how all of this is coming together, qualities role in the emerging technology, what is the impact, how do we get ourselves prepared for it, etc. And one of the key questions that we asked them, right, was, if you don't have a good QE strategy for your emerging technologies, what is the biggest risk that you see? And everybody said, we see cyber security as the biggest risk if we don't have QE strategy in place, which ensures that in any of the emerging technologies, you would need to have a good, robust, strong QE strategy. The last theme of the report is the value stream management. People who have been working in Agile, right, Agile practitioners would be very well aware of this concept. For those of you who are not, VSM or value stream management is a lean concept or a process where you analyze the material and the information flow from the time the customer is requesting for it to the time you finally deliver it. So that whole process, and you analyze each part of it. Now, this analysis helps you in understanding what are the areas of waste so that you can eliminate that. Hence, you make your process, very, very efficient, right? Now, one of the key expectations of quality and testing function is to assure and also ensure that the software, development process delivers what the customer wants or what the business or the end user aspires to. However, in practice, many teams, many organizations still struggle to make the value outcomes very, very clear and visible, right? And also to manage that. And that's why probably this came out as one of the challenges in the automation space, wherein people say that we are not being able to see the kind of value that which was committed to us when we embarked on the automation journey. So the first question that we asked was, what is the value, right, that you are expecting quality to be delivering as a function? Now, the two top responses that came out was business growth, or meeting the business outcomes or objectives, and ensuring the end user satisfaction, right? These were two things that came out very clearly during the discussions. Now, achieving quality of at speed, which was one of the key things that we have been talking about in the last few years, This actually has dropped down in the last year, right? In this year, when you look at the report, it has dropped down significantly. And one of the reasons could again be because some of the customers said that that is already a focus, right? So the teams are working towards it. They're trying to have very mature, automated, agile teams. So quality of speed, quality at speed is again a given, and everybody is striving towards that. But the other concepts related to the business value or the user experience is something that we are still struggling with. Now, the next question that we asked them was, what are the top three focus areas that will help in bringing value to your organization? And the top three areas that you see here, or you would see in the report, is that people say that it is the reliability of the service provided, the customer retention, and the brand loyalty or the brand image that you have. And again, if you think about it, if you sit back and think about it, you would see that all of these three are related, right? So you deliver good quality product, a reliable service. You will be sure that the customer will return to you. And if they are returning to you and you continue to deliver good quality, reliable service, then you will obviously build a brand for you, right? Also, one thing to notice, the way the value stream mapping or the management is being done in different organizations is very, very different. There are a lot of tools in the market which provide you the overall framework to do this, but this is still a very, very niche area. The focus is to move towards the business value rather than the traditional ROI concepts. But I think organizations are still trying to get a hang of it, trying to get a handle on it, trying to streamline this whole process, right? And I'll finish off with the last question that we asked our respondent was, what are the top considerations when you are managing your current value stream, right? And the highest was that about 57% people ranked that they still see that the focus needs to be on the areas that deliver the largest return on spend. Okay, so again, tying it back to the ROI kind of a thing. So that is something that came out. It figured out in the top three things that people focus on. And one of the things which earlier was a very big challenge for value stream management is reducing the friction between teams, because you have different teams working in silos. It becomes difficult, and then you have a lot of conflicts. That has actually dropped down. Okay, which shows that the teams are more embedded with each other. They're running together with each other, and everybody has the right or the same objective that they are moving towards, right? So for VSM, it's very mixed insights, but again, it's a very niche new area for quality. There are some organizations that have gone to a very mature state. They have implemented their complete value stream management process, framework, etc. It's embedded in their delivery cycle. But there are some organizations that are still just thinking about it, planning about it, thinking of how they get started with it and all of that. So we still need to wait and watch on this space to understand how this is going to look like in the next few years. With that, there is a simple summary for all of you who can look at it. This will anyways be shared, so you can have a look at it and you can get some very high level understanding on all of these 7 themes and what we as an organization recommend, right, across these all 7 themes. Over to you, Pradeep.
No, as always, something new. In fact, the title was giving me a clue about one of those movies, right? Now you can see me and you can't, right? Now you see me, right? The same movie
Nazi.
also. The dialogue in that movie of the magician is exactly the same. He says, "The closer you look, the more you get," and then he starts to make everyone look at the magic. So it was really magical, Lisha, in terms of understanding it. But from a technical viewpoint, I think the addition of sustainable IT is a very interesting move because worldwide I see a lot of interest in ESG as an assurance mechanism, and organizations will then have a broader stakeholders to kind of address, because right now the stakeholders are only customers, correct? Now, or let's say internal partners and internal members. But now you have to actually respond to the society, in terms of how socially you're actually managing your business, which is actually a very powerful assurance element. The second
Absolutely.
thing I Yeah, and the second thing I think is the value stream mapping has been a long desired requirement in the quality space. I strongly believe that quality was always adding value,
Yeah.
and it was always helping. But then the testing was a lot about preserving the value rather than creating value, and programming was more about creating value. Correct. And I think putting value stream mapping and aligning quality function to think in that direction is a very interesting strategic move, because that kind of helps the quality people also align with business interests, and we'll start seeing chief quality officers as a CXO and a strategic position is what I would believe, going forward. And I think that
Absolutely.
should
I
move.
mean, I love that statement from you, Pradeep, because
Yeah.
that's how the vision should be. Quality has sometimes, been like I was saying, it's like water. It's not very fashionable or it's not very jazzy, but you need it, right? You cannot get
Correct.
away from not having water. So I really
Yeah, and it's
hope.
one of the five important elements as well. So
Absolutely.
naturally, like if the CXO or the strategic team of an organization has to constitute five roles, I would assume that one of them must be actually worried about quality, and one of them must be representing quality, and one of them must be thinking about adding value and preserving value for the organization and the stakeholders at large. And they also should see the perspective from the overall societal perspective, not necessarily the enterprise perspective, which is also a great move. And I think the third one, which I really liked, was adding the emerging technologies. I think that was very much waited for. And I think it was a lot of times people were asking what would happen in AI, what would happen in metaverse. And I think metaverse was the trigger, if I'm not mistaken, and of a World Quality Report to consider, okay, there are new emerging technologies. Let's start putting them as a separate section. In the previous ones, it used to be part of the regular quality
Yes.
orchestration, etc.,
Yes.
but it was not like a
So
highlighted section.
absolutely, absolutely. It's been there in certain sections. So, for example, AI/ML, we've been talking about it, intelligent
Correct.
automation, etc. But I think blockchain, metaverse, these things, because they got us thinking, right? What do we, what is the role that we play in that area, and
Mhm.
how do we support that technology? So,
Perfect. Now, and I think there is one question from the audience, and
mhm.
the question is, it's more about the tools and technology, in the sense some of us just can't give that away, in the sense we still believe that that's an essential competency, that's an essential differentiator, and that's an essential scaling factor, which we
Mhm.
all have to master. So the question is, do you think that low code and no code tools are becoming redundant? Are there any tools with similar capabilities trying to reinvent the wheel instead of focusing on what next? So the question is it an aberration, or is it essential?
I think it's gonna be mainstream, okay, the way I'm seeing it now, because earlier what used to happen, and that is what I was saying in one of the sections, right? When you're talking about the test automation, it cannot just be related to your execution phase, right? You have to see how you can stretch it. But at the same point of time, why low code, no code tools are very, very important is because you cannot have everybody understand code and maintain the code. If you looked at the automation graph, it showed that maintainability is a very, very important concept and a very important factor in considering how your automation is going to be. And low code, no code tools will help you in achieving that, that area of ensuring that you do not spend a lot of time on maintenance, and it will also help you in ensuring that whatever you are creating as a quality engineer or as a tester is something that can be scaled up to be used by developers, to do their testing, and also to their business group, right? The business users or the BAs to do their set of testing, right? And then you don't need to come there everywhere. You are just the orchestrator. You provide them the or enable them by providing them the building blocks, but it is something that is taken care by everybody. So I personally feel that low code, no code tools are very, very important. Those platforms are very important. and it is something that we are looking at. We are also factoring in our own strategy on how do we support our customers with that.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's exactly what I see as a shift as well. So just to summarize your talk, and I think the quality report kind of provides four visible elements or four visible roles of or dimensions of a quality person. I'll call them the four horsemen, taking the cue from Now You See Me. And I think the four horsemen representation of a quality professional would be, at one level, we have operators, which is primarily our concern there is largely about efficiency and executing things very well. And that's where tools, technologies would play very well. At a second level, we probably are stewards, and we primarily are orchestrating, directing, moving people along. And that's where our critical focus would be to control and govern. And at a third level, we should be a catalyst, which means we should be sparking a thought, we should be igniting an idea, we should probably be making them visualize, how this would play. And that's where I would see the emerging technologies playing a very strong role there. And then at a fourth level, we probably are strategists, because we are kind of defining what the organization should be really looking at. So I think that's a very interesting perspective, and you certainly have given a lot of food for thought and certainly made us think in a new direction and a new perspective. We will be posting those questions, and just a quick clarification. So people can download the World Quality Report with no cost, correct?
Yes, absolutely. It is available to everybody. The specific country sections and pullouts can be separately requested for, but you have it all. All the resources are online and available to everybody.
Perfect, perfect. Now that's a very, very helpful thing, Lisha. And as always, can't thank you enough for the entire insight that you have provided us. Really thank you for sharing the insights with us.
Thank you for having me, Pradeep.